This episode of Damn You Hollywood was filmed before a live studio audience. Thank you.
You're supposed to applaud.
That's Ruby Valley, Louie Hollywood, where any office boy or young mechanic can be a panic with just a good-looking pan. And any barmaid can be a star maid if she dances with or without a plan. Hooray for Hollywood, where you're terrific if you're even good, where anyone at all from Shirley Temple to Amy Semple is equally understood. Go out and try your luck, you may be gone or luck. Hooray for Hollywood.
Thank you.
There we go.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And here's your host, the disembodied voice himself, Robert Winfree. Yay!
Yay, it's me, and in theory we'll have other guests joining us. But Mark had a very hard start time this evening.
And me! And who?
Okay, sit down. Jesus Christ. You were saying, Robert.
Well, joining us now, just a minute or so late, but such is life. In addition to Mark, who provided our lovely intro, and whose family will be the Peanut Gallery for the evening.
Let me hear out the Peanut Gallery. Woo! All right, then.
Oh my God, are they being murdered?
No, that's just Jonas.
We're doing an experiment tonight. There has been some interest in doing live studio audience shows, so we have some friends over and my kids, and I suspect this is either going to be our worst or best show. I haven't quite decided yet. We'll get there, though. Anyway, let's get through the introductions.
And also joining us.
You're good. Please continue.
Just ignore
sure?
the screaming masses of children, presumably being fed to a pit bull in the background.
There are no live animals on in this house that are eating children. I need to specify that.
Besides this
I was going to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Honeysuckle Rose Creations, Alexis.
Yeah.
Hejna. How do you do, Alexis?
Hi, hope you guys don't mind. I have sushi.
Oh, good. Perfect. A live studio audience eating on the air. How many podcast rules can we break tonight?
My food came late. I'm sorry. I ordered it and the jackass came late. I am really sorry.
All right. We have 2 hours and a lot to get through tonight. We are talking Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers and Pixar's new animated feature, Lightyear. So,
AKA, hang on, also known as Interstellar for Dummies.
Hang on, we've already got like some comments here in the Peanut Gallery. We have our friend Derpy Gaming, who says, I enjoyed Lightyear. Definitely not Pixar's best. Should be released on Disney Plus original. We're going to get to that, pal. We have our friend Zachary
But,
Strobel.
you know,
go ahead.
I was going to say, Mark, we talked a little bit ago, this would have been last year, about some of the people at Pixar going, if you keep throwing all of our stuff on Disney Plus, people are going to stop valuing what we do. And it turns out that the people who had that opinion they were hip to something, man.
Yeah, they were.
Side note, hey, Zach, good to see you, man. Glad you're tuning in.
That's an MCU Bleeding Edge person, right?
Zach actually is a wonderful author who I have collaborated with on some of his books. I got to do some work on the covers. It was really fun for that.
Cool.
He has also been on 1 or 2 episodes of Tripped Up Trivia. Can't remember how many, but I know he's been on our show before. So he's a cool guy. I'm glad to have him on.
Derpy Gaming wants you to put some of your sushi in an envelope and mail it to him. All right, let's get on with the show here. So we're going to talk Rescue Rangers first and then Lightyear. Dave Wright should be joining us soon, presumably. I think he only saw Chip 'n Dale, so watch him show up after we're done talking about it. Let's go ahead and get into Chip. Alexis, you wanted to do Chip 'n Dale first, get this over with so that we can spend a little bit more time on Lightyear and not necessarily have to be rushed.
Agreed. I think we've all got a few talking points about Lightyear that we're going to need to bring up. Chip 'n Dale, I think we all agreed was pretty good. There is one talking point I do want to bring up, and that is the Bobby Driscoll controversy. Do we want to do plot synopsis first via Winfree?
Yeah, I'm gonna rip through the plot synopsis so that we can have more time to talk. So, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, 2022 American live action / computer animated action adventure comedy film, debuted exclusively on Disney Plus on May 20th, 2022, and the plot goes like this: in a world populated by humans and cartoon characters, a la Roger Rabbit, Chip and Dale meet in elementary school and become best friends like you do. They later relocate to Hollywood, and after casting as extras in commercials and shows, go on to star in the successful television series Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, which we all saw as kids at one time or another, I'm sure, in the early 1990s. When Dale gets his own show, Double O Dale, the two have a falling out, leading to both shows' cancellations. 30 years later, Chip is a successful but disillusioned insurance salesman, while Dale spends most of his time on the fan convention circuit. The two are contacted by their old co-star Monterey Jack, who owes money to the criminal Valley Gang due to his stinky cheese addiction. Monty warns the pair of a trafficking operation where tunes are kidnapped, have their appearances altered, and are shipped to overseas to produce bootlegs of their works. This is so meta.
I was going to say, who would have thought Disney would go into a little bit of body horror?
Yeah, really. For the rest of their lives. Later that night, the two are informed that Monty has been kidnapped. They meet Police Captain Putty and Officer Ellie Steckler. The later reveals herself to be a big Rescue Rangers fan, and with the police's hands tied, she suggests Chip and Dale investigate on their own. Because Robert, as we all know, that's how law enforcement works. Detectives not getting it done fast enough for you? Take the law into your own hands. It's fine. We actually learned this from Homicide, Life on the Street, if you know what I'm talking about. Chip
I
and Dale
do, and it hurts my soul.
I was waiting for you to say something, and then I'm like, oh, maybe he doesn't catch the reference. I'm like, damn it, and you talk right over me. Go ahead.
No, I got your reference, and it hurts my soul.
Chip and Dale visit Bjornson, the cheesemonger, which is my new wrestling name, Monty's cheese dealer, and ask about the Valley Gang. They are taken to the Uncanny Valley.
I laughed so hard at that gag and everything that followed it. That was the best
2019 cats fighting in the alley killed it for me. That was so funny.
I'm gonna no lie. I watched this late at night when we were in Orlando this weekend for the stadium tour, and I didn't know I dozed off at points. So I'm now just catching that. I'm like, that's freaking hysterical.
The delivery of it too. They're like, well, where are we? I think we're in the valley.
The Uncanny Valley.
All the early World of Warcraft NPCs and.
At which point they should have cut to Carrie Fisher from Rogue One.
Ow!
Yeah, take that. And meet the gang's leader, Sweet Pete, an adult version of Peter Pan. Real quick, and I don't want to go too off on a tangent here, but my family and I were discussing the whole like Pixar in decline thing, which we're going to talk about when we get to Lightyear. I want to discuss Chris Bailey's posit that the studio has been in decline since Inside Out came out. We'll get there. But as I do with you guys, I just don't want to slam things and then be negative and not talk about, well, how can we make things better? I asked my family, my wife and my kids, how would you fix Pixar? The idea we eventually got to was Peter Pan meets the Wu-Tang Clan. Hey, Alexis, I just saw Liberty Your Soul die.
Be so grateful my computer will not support my camera at the moment. Be so grateful.
For the record, I was about to ask Winfree why we're not viewing your lovely face, but oh my God.
Because his computer is in desperate need of fixing.
My computer's going down. I've got a new one that should be arriving this week.
Well, that's good.
So, yes, Peter Pan meets the Wu-Tang Clan, because as we all know, Wu-Tang is for the children.
Yes, and we all know, especially from Chip and Dale, that the best thing any animated character can do is start rapping.
Anyway.
At one point, does Peter Pan say, I don't eat whale?
Excuse me, stewardess, I speak jive. And Bob and Jimmy. Realizing they are investigating his bootlegging business, Pete tries to capture the pair. but the chipmunks escape. The two later share their discoveries with Ellie, learning that she is shunned by Putty due to acting on a bad trip and raiding Nickelodeon Junior Studios with negative results.
Paw Patrol attack the captain. They say he'll never have children.
With Ellie's help, the chipmunks sneak into a bathhouse to steal Pete's fitness tracker. They trace his movements to a dock warehouse, though it is already abandoned by the time the police arrive. Inside, they find a large operating machine designed to alter Toon's bodies, along with several Toon parts, including Monty's mustache.
And Chip ends up with Snoopy's ear.
At the police station, the pair argue over the loss of Monty and their past feud, but smell the scent of Monty's cologne. Realizing either Putty or Ellie is working with Sweet Pete, the two flee the station. At the ongoing fan con, they try to convince Ugly Sonic to have his FBI contacts for help, but Pete and his henchmen arrive, having tracked Dale using his social media posts. In the ongoing chase, Bob is restrained by Tigra and Lumiere, who have him arrested, but Chip is caught by Jimmy and taken to the warehouse. Ellie is lured there by Putty, revealing he is part of the Valley Gang and has been covering for Pete, including giving Ellie the false Nick Jr. tip. Sweet Pete has Ellie call Dale to lure him to the warehouse, but Ellie sends a coded message using a Rescue Rangers episode. Dale realizes Ellie is in trouble and contacts Rescue Rangers co-stars Gadget Hack Wrench, and Zipper, now married with children, for help. Dale enters the warehouse using a firework, which gets lodged into the machine and stops it before it can be used on Chip. The machine goes haywire like it does, transforming Jimmy into a fairy and Pete into a giant amalgamation of various Toons. While Ellie fights and defeats Putty, Pete chases Chip and Dale through the warehouse, revealing it also to be where the bootlegs are filmed. The chipmunks lure Pete to the docks and use a ploy from Rescue Rangers episode to trap him. The FBI, led by Ugly Sonic, arrive to arrest the Valley Gang. Sweet Pete fires a cannonball at Chip, but Dale takes the hit. Chip fears Dale is dead and apologizes for his behavior over the years, but Dale reveals he was protected by a golden pog Chip gave him. The chipmunks free all the bootleg Toons, including Monty, and Dale introduces the Rescue Rangers to Ellie, who decide to open her own detective agency. As the team departs, Dale convinces them to film a Rescue Rangers reboot, which is later released to great success because, of course, it is. All right, Alexis, start us off here. I know you had a whole bunch of stuff to say, so go ahead and share away.
First of all, comment there from Alexander Williams, Tress MacNeille, and Corey Burton. Those are the original voices of Chip and Dale from the TV series. We do briefly, actually, I don't know if that's them doing the sped up versions of Chip and Dale in this, or if they just sped up Mulaney and Samberg.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree they are a little ordinary sounding, but I really like both of those actors, so I was okay with it. It's so funny. I was never a huge fan of Andy Samberg when he was on SNL, but I have liked so many of his projects since he left the yes, thank you, Gavin. Since he left the show. Like I said, do you want to talk about the Bobby Driscoll thing, or is there another pot you want me to talk about here?
Do your thing.
Okay.
Just jump into it.
So there was a bit of a controversy with this, and it revolves around the character Sweet Pete, which a lot of animation fans felt was too much of a parallel to the real-life story of Bobby Driscoll. Driscoll was the voice of Peter Pan in the original Disney animated film. He was also the reference model. Back in the day, they would have actors come in and act out scenes, and the animators would sketch them to get an idea of how the body would work and react to that kind of a thing. Driscoll had a pretty promising career as a child actor. He was in a handful of other Disney projects, and basically very similar to this movie. When he got older, hit puberty, Disney gave him the boot. His body was literally found unidentified in New York, dead, surrounded by alcohol bottles. Like,
oh my God,
real tragic. So there was a little bit of a controversy with people saying that this was kind of too similar to what actually happened to the real life Peter Pan. So, okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if this would have been better if they had picked another Disney character to use as the bad guy. I will say I love Will Arnett as the villain. Mm-hmm. He always delivers a great job. I love him when he voices the bad guys. He has so much fun with it.
Will Arnett does Lego Batman, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, I think Will Arnett. I think typically Will Arnett's voice work is pretty well regarded.
His voice work is so much better than his live action work. Like, I mean,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
He gets a forever pass for me for BoJack. Like that alone is just like, okay, fine.
And we talked about that at length on our previous TV party tonight.
So the original story, this movie apparently went through several rewrites, and the original plot got released on line about a week or two before the movie came out, and I didn't know it had changed. The original villain, get this, was Pluto. Apparently, he wanted to get revenge on Chip and Dale for always mistreating him in the cartoons.
See, that would have worked for me.
I could see it.
That honestly, it should have been like Donald and Pluto, and it should have been about nut butter. That's it. Thank you. I'm glad you got it.
Yeah. So yeah, and I was waiting for some big twist to be revealed with Sweet Pete, that it was actually another tune in disguise kind of a thing. But no, they kept that.
If it had been Christopher Lloyd as as the judge from Roger Rabbit. Remember me, Chip and Dale?
Of course we remember. You put a lot of children in therapy.
All right, go ahead and finish up with your thoughts, Alexis, on the craft of the film.
I really did enjoy this one. Like I said, I think there was a couple of plot points that could have been reworked. I think some of the earlier drafts, that if they had stuck with that, would have been better. This is still a really good movie. The animation is great. I love just how it really is in the same spirit as Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which you guys know was my all-time favorite movie. Mm-hmm. So the animation was really good. It actually did blend well with the live action. This didn't feel like, I don't know, like the Garfield or Smurfs movie where it's so plain that the actors have no idea what they're doing when they're interacting with the telephone or the tennis ball on a stick kind of a thing.
I think the movie worked really, really well as like a parody, but in the way that Mel Brooks used to do parody, or like on like Monty Python, in that instead of, as opposed to the Wayans brothers, where it's always so like obvious what they're doing, it's like, oh, this is a joke, and then they kind of just state the joke out loud. And this was clearly a commentary on metaculture, and it was also a meditation on cartoons and whatnot. And there was a lot going on with it, but it seemed very natural and organic and embedded in the humor, not stated outright and hitting you over the head with a mallet, which is my preferred form of parody.
I also have to nod at all of the crazy amount of Easter eggs and background jokes.
Dude, so many.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got a bunch of them, and I'm not nearly as hardcore about some of this stuff as other people.
Yeah, I lost track. The first time I saw this, I had to pause it every time I saw another background joke that just made me lose my mind.
Your husband want to hit you over the head because you wouldn't let the movie just play.
Oh, you really think Andre saw this with me? He didn't watch it. He watched part of it with me, and he was like, "Why is the Coca-Cola bear evil?"
Okay. Let me take a break. Let me take a break and shoot over to Robert. Robert, what'd you think of the craft?
Of the movie itself, it's fine. This is not exceptional. I was with you. I'm with you, Mark. I was waiting for Peter Pan to like have another reveal. Somebody pulls the mask off and it's someone else, or partway through it, he's like, "Well, no, I've got a boss and it's so and so." Like there's a flaw in the writing here where they reveal the big villain and then they just drag on the conclusion without any other real kind of hook to keep you invested.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big flaw. There's I like the Easter eggs. I got a kick out of seeing a lot of them. I will not feel bad for Ugly Sonic, not one iota. No, screw that thing. That monstrosity that was created. No. This really is kind of the successor to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, in that it takes kind of the same idea. And for the record, by the way, if you've never read the book that Who Framed Roger Rabbit is based on, you're missing out.
I'm friends with the author. Gary K. Wolfe, great guy.
Yeah, the book's also much darker than the movie.
Yeah,
I actually heard
insanely.
I can't remember. I think when I was doing some research for a possible podcast on Roger Rabbit, I remember seeing like the novelization is a wild departure from the film and is much darker.
No. Not novelization, because the novelization comes after the film. Right. This is the film
novel,
that the novel is.
The original novel. I misspoke.
Yeah.
What else, Robert?
That's not. Yeah, that's for. I've been thinking a lot about why there hasn't been something in the same vein as Who Framed Roger Rabbit since Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Because they tried and it was called the TV show Bonkers.
Well, okay, hang on. Let's talk about that for just the briefest of seconds. In the wake of Roger Rabbit, they tried. They tried with Cool World. It bombed. They've tried with a couple of other joint animated live-action things, and it didn't do nearly as well. There was magic in a bottle with Roger Rabbit, and it hasn't been replicated as of yet.
I know. So what I mean to say is, like, why hasn't that been replicated, right?
Mhm.
Like, I know people tried, and, you know, Cool World was badly marketed, and, like...
Cool World was a disaster because of the meddling of the producers. If you've ever read the behind the stories or behind the scenes of the shit that Bakshi actually went through directing that, it's kind of terrifying what the studio put him through. How much Kim even Kim Basinger was calling for the movie to be changed.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
All right, so go on, Robert.
Well, so we get to and I started thinking about this after watching this movie, because I watched this and that was my big take. I was like, okay, this is functionally our Who Framed Roger Rabbit sequel that we never quite got. I don't just mean like a sequel to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I mean this blending of styles, this kind of meshing of the cartoon world and the real world that, like you guys mentioned, it's been tried, but it's never really worked.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons. And I actually did kind of realize, I think, part of why, like a giant part of why it hasn't happened, and part of that is, believe it or not, technological, because now everything is Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Right. The Phantom Menace. Roger Rabbit.
No. Well, I mean, there's the Phantom Menace, but like, have you seen the behind the scenes stuff for how Marvel films?
Oh yeah, half of it's
some of the
screens.
It's some of the most depressing stuff you'll ever see.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. Like, okay, stand in front of this green box, and we will then put you in Europe on a dais and pretend that you're seeing grand scenes. Like,
I know we've talked about this before, so I don't want to beat it to death or repeat it ad nauseum, but Ewan McGregor on the set of The Phantom Menace, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what this movie is. Because all he was surrounded by green boxes and told, run in this direction, run in that direction.
Yeah, and
and then told, quit making the lightsaber sounds with your mouth. We'll add it in later.
True story.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite stories. Just the idea of being so excited that you're going vroom, vroom, vroom.
I want to do something.
It is somewhat. Hang on. It is poetically appropriate that Sir Alec Guinness had no idea what he was doing in the first Star Wars, and then the Obi-Wan and the prequels also had no idea what he was doing.
There's certainly less green screen in it. You know, the problem with Sir Alec Guinness was he's sitting in Tunisia going, I don't understand this movie. What the hell am I? Am I some sort of wizard? Shut up and read the lines, Alec. Okie dokie.
And George Lucas, who does not understand humanity, could not adequately explain to him what was going on.
Yeah, George Lucas didn't understand people. He went to the fucking Hitchcock School of filmmaking. All right, Robert.
Well, hey, so the long and the short of that is the technological achievements that went into Who Framed Roger Rabbit and the blending of live action with animation. Like when plates are breaking over Roger Rabbit's head, like if you've never seen the like how Roger Rabbit was made,
right?
That's freaking amazing what they pulled off. I genuinely mean that. It was miraculous. And I mean, same kind of vein, but, you know, Bob Hoskins saying the first thing I had to do when I was signed on for this role was I had to learn how to hallucinate.
So relative to Chip and Dale.
You know, this is the closest we're going to get, but it's more about, in the case of this movie, it's more about like a loose setting and a willingness to be meta commentary.
Right.
Than some of the stuff from Who Framed Roger Rabbit that really kind of sparked the imagination of everyone.
Well, that's what I want to point to. Robert, you and I talk about the lack of bravery in screenwriting in Hollywood. You and I have kicked around this idea that modern writers don't understand why things are popular, and they just mimic instead of writing in the vein of or drawing inspiration from and doing their own thing with it. They just, Alexis, you and I also talked about this with Looney Tunes, where it's like they don't know why the Bugs Bunny cartoons are funny. They're not talented enough to replicate it, so they just copy, and it doesn't work nearly as well, or they focus on the wrong stuff. This is one of those rare gems. I mean, like, you know, real quick, because I don't have a lot to say about the craft of this movie. I liked it. You know, my son was wildly entertained by it. I thought it was funny, but it was a somewhat slight movie. On the other hand, I really appreciated that this group seemed to understand parody and meta commentary without doing it hit you over the head Gallagher style, Robert.
Yeah, 100%. There's the structure of this movie is very flawed, but some of the individual scenes and individual bits of dialogue and interactions are quite good.
Yes. Okay, so
slightly disturbed at hearing Dennis Haysbert's voice come out of Zipper. Not going to lie about that.
All right, so
I thought that was inspired.
It's like, yeah, it's like all of a sudden Zipper looks and goes, "You're in good hands with Allstate."
So I'm going to go ahead and just read this. This is what. So I've made a lot of friends lately, and one of my friends told her that we were doing a review of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers tonight. I don't know if she's watching, but she was like, I don't know if I'm going to see your review, but do me a favor. Here's my review. Please read this on air. So here we go. I don't know what a lot of this is. In fact, a lot of this I haven't really read before. So this might just be her stream of consciousness, just reacting to things as she saw the movie.
Let's hear it.
Yep, here we go. It smells like almond butter and gasoline. I'm guessing she really liked that line. Cheese for the best of me. I got nothing here. Bootleg. Yeah, these are just lines. Bootleg me. What happened to Flounder? And then she put a laughing face. All right, here's one for you.
That was pretty
Alexis.
good.
Yeah, here's one for you, Alexis. John Mulaney, her favorite comedian is Dale. Okay, I guess she really likes his performance.
He voices Chip.
Good.
No. Yeah. That. No, Mark. This is why I said I'm calling you Dale for this review, because you're Dale. I'm the straight-laced one who, when this is all over, goes and just like sells insurance and is miserable with my dog. You're the one on the like podcast circuit and the conventions and making friends with all the other people from the 80s and whatnot. Like that's why you're Dale for the purposes of this review.
Yeah.
Well, wait, Robert. But then that makes me the smart one who's being worshipped by a cult in Russia.
Oh, you're a gadget hack, right?
It's Russia.
I was like, tell me I'm not the only one who knows about the gadget cult.
All right. No. Hang on.
It's
It's
Russia. There's a cult to just about everything. I know.
I'm not kidding. Yeah, there is a real life cult in Russia that worships gadgets.
Okay.
There was a lot of speculation actually that they were going to be the bad guys in this movie, because the original plot synopsis released was when a former cast member has been kidnapped, everyone assumed it was Gadget.
Did the detective really use a fucking cheese slicer on his hand? Okay.
Yes, he did.
Corrective lenses.
He did.
And then face. Rapunzel's head coming off was great. Okay. I love the.
I did get a laugh out of that. Yes,
I did too.
I love the Beauty and the Beast reference.
Which one? There were multiple.
I don't know, the one that was amusing.
Yeah, there were a lot.
Yeah, it's like between the multiple Beauty and the Beast bootleg references, and of course Lumiere is a supporting character on the con circuit. I love when he bows and burns the guy's dollar, and he's like, "Oh, I really needed that money."
This next one's political. Definitely saw it being the captain. I hate when it's dirty cops. LOL. It makes it so hard. Yeah, she had a personal opinion about that. When he becomes elastic, is it a reference to the Expendables? What do you got for me here, kids? Nothing?
Sorry, I don't think it is. I mean, yeah, sorry, I got nothing.
Does Disney not own the rights to Gumby? I don't think they do. I think that's somebody else's IP.
No.
Hang on a second. Let me wiki it.
I mean, as much as Disney owns, they might.
Like accidentally, like game in the purchase or something else.
Oh shit, Gumby's owned by Fox, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. Oh, interesting. Well, that does bring up a good point. Then why did they just didn't use Gumby in the movie?
Because you can't have J.K. Simmons' voice coming out of Gumby.
J.K. Simmons can do whatever he wants. All right.
No.
Like,
J.K. Simmons can do anything. I'm just saying,
I'm sorry.
if
You
you
want
have
to tell
Gumby,
Omni-Man? It's like you want to tell Omni-Man he can't voice whoever he wants to voice.
all I'm saying is if you put Gumby up there, you need Gumby's voice. And if you have J.K. Simmons, you want J.K. Simmons to do J.K. Simmons things, and it helps occasionally if he is not stuck doing an established iconic character.
I think Gumby would have worked better as the detective if they didn't have Peter Pan as the main villain. I think having two former
Probably.
childhood icons growing up into, assholes, I think it would have been too much.
Redundant, yeah. Two more, and then we're gonna go right into Rotten Tomatoes after this. I love the tiny umbrella before he gets hit in the head. Okay, and I love
Classic Wile E. Coyote gag.
And I like the
Darn
name
right.
Zipper for the Fly. So those were my friend's stream of consciousness thoughts about Chip and Dale. Never let it be said I don't try new things on the air. All right, Robert, give me like.
Do you have to
10
try
words.
them all in the same segment?
Yes, give me all in the same show. All right, 10 words or less. If there's anything else you wanted to add, and I do mean 10 words or less. Otherwise, we'll go to Rotten Tomatoes.
It's a
Robert, you wanna go first?
largely,
Yeah.
It's an inoffensive, somewhat poorly structured, well-intentioned bit of mostly disposable entertainment. It's not bad. Mulaney and Samberg have decent chemistry. The story needed more passes, but some of the dialogue is good. There's some fun references. There's worse ways to spend time.
Sure. All right, folks, here we go with the critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
All right, we have a dead even split here. It is fresh with 80% on the tomato meter and an 80% audience score with over 500 ratings. The critics' consensus is sometimes some reboots fall through the cracks, but Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers picks up the slack with a fast, funny film that almost never fails. And the audience says, it may not be a new Disney classic, but Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers brings back a pair of beloved characters for a fresh round of family-friendly fun. Robert, what does it say about our culture where a celebrated victory is it didn't suck? like that's the bar now.
That's not so much our culture as it is the state of entertainment in the current landscape. And this is not a joke. Before we get into the specific reviews, just because you brought this up, so just very briefly.
Sure.
There was a movie that Tom Cruise put out 5-ish years ago, I want to say. Don't hold me to that number, but it's been a while. It's called Oblivion. I rewatched that movie not too long ago on idle curiosity, and I remember it did very, very poorly when it came out.
Right.
I rewatched that, and my thought as the movie wrapped up was, if this released today, I'm not saying cultural phenomenon, because that's ridiculous, but this movie would be much more well received than it was when it came out.
Yeah. All right. So last week, our good friend Liz, friend of the show, she was watching because her friend Amber was in the panel, who is Jason's wife, and they do a podcast together called Almost Where the Hallmark Is on the Chairshot Network. And one of her comments about Damn You Hollywood was, could you read like both positive and negative reviews? Because it's like it just seems like a total downer segment. And I thought about that because like the whole thing about this is Robert and I just trashing the critics. But I thought you made at least a valid enough point of maybe share a variety of opinions about this, and we can just trash everybody. How does that sound, Robert?
I'm happy to spray the block.
Yeah, me too. I'm happy to whip it out and spray everybody. Everybody within shot of me. Just spray them all. Right, Alexis? Do you want to whip it out and spray everybody?
I feel sorry for the children listening in the background.
They laughed at that. These are my kids.
Okay. For the record, to any children listening to this podcast or watching this review who don't necessarily understand, my reference is to drive-by shootings. Mark's reference is to bodily functions.
Thank you, Mr. Wizard. All right.
You're welcome.
So here's a rotten one, and we'll kind of alternate between these. Betty Jo Tucker of Real Talk Movie Reviews. Cartoon characters fill the screen. So many you may want to scream. You'll be busy trying to see everyone in this wild movie. That was a deeply unhelpful review.
Somebody just doesn't like all the cartoons. Someone just clearly doesn't like cartoons.
Yeah. Hey, another reviewer doesn't like the job.
Again, like that's like you said, Mark, that's an unhelpful review. It doesn't actually tell you much about the quality of the movie. I do somewhat look. This is a very dense film visually in places, so you got to be up for it. Well, let me rephrase. You don't have to be up for it, but there are fun things in the background, fun Easter eggs that you can catch that will enhance the experience of this movie. If not, it's probably not as fun without them, but I don't think you lose anything. There's nothing plot-centric that is tied to obscure references.
So if you can't watch this movie and separate out the main plot from all the background references, that's a folly on you, not the movie.
Yeah. Would be correct. All right, so here's a fresh one. You want a fresh one, Alexis? Eric Childress, Movie Madness Podcast, a consistent chuckle fest.
That's not wrong.
That's actually I kind of like that actually because I want to steal that. That's actually a good line.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time someone from this show stole something from somebody else. That smartly takes the Roger Rabbit Muppets approach instead of just elongating a standard episode for a larger adventure. Hey, can I say something about that real quick? Because that's another thing that came up this weekend during my my panel session with my family about how you can't recreate the magic of the Muppets from the 70s. Variety shows were hip at the time. That the humor seemingly was different. You had a very talented group of people that don't exist anymore. It's like it's really hard, and God knows they've tried, Alexis, as you know, to recreate that Muppet magic, and it just seemingly can't be done because you either have the problem of if you try to reflect the Muppets, the culture through the Muppets today, you missed what was funny about the Muppets back in the 70s and the early 80s. However, if you try to then recreate that variety show type of humor, it doesn't resonate because those things aren't popular anymore. So it's almost like we've gone past the point of where the Muppets have any more cultural relevance outside of nostalgia.
I do still enjoy the Muppet specials. I mean, we gave a glowing review to the Muppets Haunted Mansion. Plug.
Well, okay, yes, and I think in limited things like that, where so take like Muppets Wizard of Oz, Muppets Treasure Island, Muppets Haunted Mansion, and don't worry if they don't make any money because you're throwing them on Disney Plus. I think those things work for Muppets as a window for parody of something. I think works just fine.
Agreed.
And on Disney Plus, because then you don't have to worry about attracting an audience to a theater. And then I think you have a winner. That's why I think you and I enjoyed Muppets Haunted Mansion as much as we did, because if they had put that in theaters, it would have bombed.
Oh, totally.
On Disney Plus. All right, moving on.
Yeah, seriously, Disney, keep making Muppet movies. We're fine with it.
Just in that same vein, briefly, when everyone threw a fit about the Muppets, they did the best thing the Muppets have done. I mean, they did that show that was just the Muppets. That was a loose riff on like the mockumentary style of television, like The Office or Parks and Rec, where they're producing Miss Piggy, who does the late night talk show thing.
See, I love that, but I
loved that show too.
The fans couldn't get over the outrage that they split Kermit and Piggy up. I'm serious. That was a huge contention with the fans.
But not only that, I don't think people liked the Muppets doing anything that even was remotely serious. And I was like, well, I love the fact that like Miss Piggy had like mental health issues, was like bipolar and shit like that, and like I thought that was great. But that's not what people want from the Muppets. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, in that same vein, like here's the other thing about this: people forget what the Muppets were.
Mm-hmm.
They have this weird version of what the Muppet Show was in their heads, and they've not rewatched any of the Muppet Show. When I say the Muppet Show is not for kids, I don't mean that it is that your kids can't enjoy it. I mean, the Muppets were written in a way that spoke to adults as much as it did to children. It's actually why it's part of the reason Jim Henson moved on from them in some respects to do stuff like Fraggle Rock and whatnot, because he wanted to speak more to children than the Muppets allowed him to do, because the Muppets, kids like the Muppets, I did as a kid, but they're not kid only. You know, the Muppets are so much more than that. These are adult characters. And again, I don't mean anything tawdry by that, but these are grown characters, and they have grown problems in places. The way they deal with them is funny. But when that failed to take off for a variety of reasons, I mean, there were a bunch of people like, what do you mean Kermit drinks? Have you seen that man's job?
We can spend the next hour talking just about like the state of the Muppets and culture, but we don't have that kind of time. We will maybe at some point when I start doing the Whiskey Rebellion again, it'll be one of those things I bring back up. But more on that later. Christy Puchko of Mashable, top critic. Beyond paling in comparison to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers' attempt at commentating on animation's missteps feels safe and stale, as all their references are already well-worn punchlines. Alexis.
Okay, clearly somebody thought that they were going to get some new commentary or a deep message out of Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers.
Here's one for you, Robert. Bob Chipman of Movie Bob Central. Think BoJack Horseman meets Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, get bent. Just stop. Just stop right there.
Hey,
you
that
idiot.
guy framed voiced BoJack Horseman, so clearly this is a BoJack Horseman reference mashup.
This has nowhere near enough cynicism to be even in the same sport as BoJack Horseman, let alone ballpark.
Okay, let's talk briefly for just a second about how cynicism is misused here. I think I yelled at all these people enough about nihilism that they've started substituting cynicism, and they're still getting it wrong.
Yeah, you need to move on to be yelling about something else that's completely, utterly misused.
So cynicism in this case, there is nothing cynical about this movie. Look, shining a bit of a light on reality doesn't make it cynical. Those are not the same thing at all. There's no cynicism to be found in Chip 'n Dale. And I like cynical material, none here.
Except for John Mulaney's tone, because I don't think that man can speak in any other language other than cynicism.
All right, two more.
Okay, fair enough.
Into Lightyear, because I want to spend, before we go into Lightyear proper, I do want to discuss the state of Pixar. So we'll do that for the last 15 minutes of the hour, and then we'll start up again at 10 o'clock with our full review of Lightyear for those of you listening. Sonny Bunch. And the doctor was sitting there like Johnny Bench. Sonny Bunch of The Bulwark. Little guys, chipmunks, fighting for the littler guy, Disney.
I don't get it.
Yes, I'm not sure what he's getting at here, other than...
First of all, littler isn't a word, and it actually kind of hurts to say that. I really don't. I don't get that's the point.
Yeah, you'd think a place called The Bulwark would at least take a stand on something like grammar or the English language.
All right, last one. Chris Mello in a review on. I say that, but we haven't read any of our favorite ones yet. I gotta go find my friend.
You want to scroll? I'm sure you can find somebody.
Chris Mello. Well, no, I already see one of our friends. I'm gonna read her next. Chris Mello of To Review Online. Rescue Rangers is a film made for Disney Plus that totally pales in comparison to the thing it invites comparison to. The way making stinky cheese analogs to drugs can't hold a candle to the sexual innuendo of playing patty cake. Take it away, Robert.
Okay, couple of things.
That's what we're gonna find out, Jonas.
Oh God!
All right, Robert.
Okay.
The sexual innuendo of patty cake. Go.
First of all, that's one of the best gags in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I genuinely mean that. When he's just taking pictures and all you hear is what you find out of the sound of hands clapping, then they're showing it to Roger and it's literal patty cake. It's a great gag. Like, that's a genuinely great gag.
Yes, it is. All right. We're getting there. Shut up. What part of shut up did you misunderstand?
Okay,
You
Mark,
invited them in to be the peanut gallery. They're peanutting.
They are.
Mark,
They
you
are
are
definitely peanutting.
you are the parent, so I'm going to ask you, do you want me to answer his question?
The child demands answers, Robert, and I demand you do it in 10 words or less.
Oh God!
The sound that your hands make when they clap is very similar to the to the sound that people make when they have sex.
Thank you, Hollywood, everybody. Good night. All right. Speaking of patty cake and sex, Carlo Renata of the Kirby Film Critic. The concept of live action has been done numerous times, dating back to Gene Kelly dancing with Jerry the Mouse and Anchors Away, to Roger Rabbit to Space Jam. It works well this time, and despite the slow pacing, it's still a riot to watch. Well, thanks, Carla.
Riot's a bit of a stretch. Like, you're sucking up a little bit there, but the rest of that is accurate.
I'll say it's a little forced, but not technically wrong.
All right. So let's talk about Pixar here, and I want to share this comment. I don't know if he's still with us. Our audience has been up and down tonight.
Hey, Andrew. Good to see you, man.
So Andrew, our good friend from the MCU's Bleeding Edge and other podcasts as well, says, yeah, I think audiences didn't show up for Lightyear because the last two Pixar films, Soul and Turning Red and Luca, came straight to Disney+. Pixar has lost some of that shine.
Well, Soul came to Disney Plus not because of a decision by the executives. Soul was a COVID victim.
Yeah, I want to get to that, but let's lay this out one by one. So Chris Bailey, one of our Podsman friends here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network, posited an argument that I want to kick around for about 15 minutes and 15 minutes only. So we really got to speed through this. And he basically said, despite the fact that movies like Inside Out and Coco have made over $1 billion, Pixar, from a cultural resonance and marketing point of view, is a studio in decline. He's making the argument, and I do think there's merit to this, because he is somebody who, as Robert and I like to follow the finance of film, box office take, that sort of thing, studio notes, the history of development and production. Chris Bailey is somebody who studies the history of and development of toys. He looks at the toy culture. And when he sees Toy Story and Finding Nemo and The Incredibles and whatnot, he sees a marketing and merchandise line that the culture was enraptured with. When he sees
more money in toys than they did in movie ticket sales.
Right, and considering some of the Toy Story movies made over $1 billion, that's saying something. However, since Inside Out, despite the fact that Inside Out made $1 billion, it was a successful picture, he is arguing that Pixar no longer, and I'm going to sum this up as best I can, Pixar is no longer making movies for families to enwrap themselves in the culture of toys and merchandise. They have essentially become the focus feature of Disney. They are making prestige animation. They are making art film for children and families. They are not doing stuff to make toys. And so never mind the fact that the last couple of films went straight to Disney Plus besides Lightyear. Onward was in theaters, and we went into lockdown a week later. Luca came out the following year, and that went straight to Disney Plus. But Soul came out that December, and we were still basically in the middle of not a lockdown, but we were deep in the heart of the unnamed virus of unknown origin at the time. Luca came out. They had intended it to go to theaters, and they pulled it, and it went to Disney Plus. Turning Red, the same thing. They had intended it to go into theaters. They pulled it, and it went straight to Disney Plus. So the other part of his argument is they're now signaling, and I think the Pixar people believe this to be true, that their stuff is not really worth going to the theaters for anymore by virtue of making these decisions. So I want to go to you first, Robert, to respond to what Chris is positing and what you think about that. Is Pixar, in terms of making family-friendly, merchandise-friendly film, generally culturally resonant film, a studio in decline?
The answer is probably yes. I think, again, he's correct when you look at merchandise and what they've put out recently and how it hasn't quite had the same kind of impact that earlier ones did. That's indisputably true. You can look at all the hard data if you're interested in it. I think that I think there's been some personnel turnover at Pixar over the last handful of years. Don't quote me on that, but I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's had a bit of an influence as well. We're dealing with I think when he says that they're making prestige animation films, I think that's probably accurate as well. I mean, look, you and I talked at length about Soul and what a beautiful film that is. Like in every possible way,
Gorgeous.
that is just
Also,
a beautiful film.
Soul is a darn near perfect, beautiful niche movie. Like it is that's the kind of movie that if you didn't know it was Pixar, you might have thought it came from A24. It's that good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the last movie they made that had not just the big financial success, but also had enough on the merchandising side of things to kind of really make a big impact was Coco.
Right. But I think if Coco isn't a Latin American movie, I don't know if we make that argument.
Yeah, maybe not. But I do think that's probably the last one that really kind of was able to hit that sweet spot between quality, prestige style filmmaking and appealing to children and getting all of the residual revenue streams that you want to get out of it.
I want to throw this in there because it relates. Because it relates to Lightyear. There's also an absence in the last series of films, especially since after Coco, because Coco I think was the last one that really had it. I think maybe you could argue Soul as well, but then you have the problem of it losing in some of the other areas, like it's too niche. Pixar has moved away from the emotional heft of its early releases, its most famous releases.
Again, with the exception of Soul.
Yeah, with the exception of Soul. Inside Out had it, but then it lacks in the other areas. Coco had it, and it's probably, and I think when Chris and I were batting this back and forth, we said that Coco might have been the aberration out of this last series of films. The rest, from onward on, definitely lacked in emotional heft, and that keeps going all the way into Lightyear. I'll let you finish your thought, Robert, and then I'll kick it over to Alexis.
Just in that same vein, look, Onward I thought had plenty of emotional heft to it. That hit me in the feels pretty hard.
Okay.
That said, I do understand a little bit if it didn't speak to some other people. Like I can somewhat understand why the emotionality of Onward is not necessarily as universal as other things that Pixar has done.
So people understand like the comparison. Onward, I think, is another.
That's fair.
Is another niche example. Everybody feels the emotional heft of Toy Story 3. Everybody on Earth who's ever seen that movie gets it.
I think when we reviewed Toy Story 4, we said flat out, if you don't get even just the slightest bit choked up at the end of Toy Story 3, you have no soul.
Yes.
Straight up. You have to be just the most dead of dead inside to feel nothing at the end of that.
Mm-hmm. I watched all three.
But
I didn't watch Toy Story 4 again, but yeah, I watched the first 3 Toy Story movies the other day, and I still get teary-eyed at the end of that movie.
Go ahead, Robert. Sorry,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Toy Story 3, I cry like a baby at the end of. I ugly cry. Like, that movie just kills me.
Mm-hmm.
Toy Story 4 makes me angry cry. And I actually figured this out about Toy Story 4 the other day, believe it or not. I would be fine with that movie if it wasn't Toy Story. Like, if it was something generic and they told that same emotional story that goes into Toy Story 4, that's a fine story. There's a lot of good stuff there, but Toy Story 4 feels like it's designed to undo Toy Story 3, and that just aggravates me on so many levels. But yeah, Pixar hasn't quite found the same emotional resonance in a while. You know, Turning Red's a fine enough film, but there's nothing really there to kind of hit you. Lightyear, there's one bit in Lightyear where I got a little bit where it would be unfair to the movie to say there is no emotionality to Lightyear.
So,
but
relating back,
it is very weak.
So you would agree with Chris that Pixar, for whatever the reasons are, and we don't have the amount of time to start really digging into it again. That's a topic for another day. you would go ahead and agree with Chris that Pixar has been in decline now for a few years.
In terms of what they, not necessarily in terms of film quality, but if we're talking about what they used to be versus what they are now, decline might be too strong a word, but there is definitely a noticeable shift. That is absolutely true.
Go ahead, Alexis. For the next 5 minutes or so, weigh in with your thoughts on Chris's argument, your own argument, whatever you think.
Okay, someone set the timer. I do agree with Chris because I brought this. Okay, I was not able to participate in that debate on the Messenger because you guys were having it while I was working. So I couldn't chime in, but I was able to check in every now and then. Just I couldn't respond. But I think it is fair to point out that we started seeing a bit of a decline in 2006. And guess what else happened in 2006? Disney and Pixar merged. So I do feel that I look at a lot of their downturns and I go, it's clear that this was Disney holding the reins more than Pixar. A number of the sequels, oh my God, that god-awful car spin-off Planes.
And that wasn't even Pixar. That was a Disney.
No, that was straight Disney. Disney took over that.
Right.
But it becomes
They can have it.
Yeah, I know, right? But it becomes clear when Disney is holding more of the weight on the film than Pixar is because they're pushing more for franchise, merchandising, all that kind of stuff. Pixar has always produced movies to me that do not counter into that. They want to tell really strong stories. And I honestly feel that Pixar has never been a company that wants to focus on merchandising. You know, I mean, obviously they do have merchandising on.
Disney's just keel over and die from heart failure.
I mean, we
don't understand. We want to speak to the heart. We want to speak to the human experience. And Disney's like, if you don't make some fucking toys right now,
Yeah. Now, again, getting merchandising off of it was not a bad thing. Oh my God, still remember, went to FAO Schwartz in Chicago when I was a kid, and they had, I think this was when Toy Story 2 came out, because they had the real Buzz Lightyear action figures, and it did everything that Buzz does in the movie. And my dad and I are picking up, they had a bunch on display. My dad and I are picking up, and we're pressing all the buttons, and we're playing with them in the store, and we're just acting like the biggest goofs. But yeah, I feel that the downturn for Pixar has been because Disney has taken too much control. I feel that the best of Pixar is when they are allowed to do what they want. I think that Soul was a perfect capture of that. Hell, I remember an interview with, oh my God, I can't remember if it was Ralph Eggleston or Andrew Stanton. They were talking about when they the core directors, the first core directors, the ones who have been there since the start. They were sitting down in a cafe and they were hashing out ideas for the first few movies they were going to do. Then they talked Toy Story and Bug's Life.
Right.
You know, and these are the first movies they were going to do. And they said Wall-E was one of the first movies they discussed. Wall-E was one of the first movies they wanted to make. They just didn't have the technology to really do it. And they were scared to launch something that, I don't want to say big, but that impactful. Without having really set up credentials.
Wall-E needed the technological underpinnings that did not exist yet, and thank heavens they waited, because if you got, I don't mean this unkindly, but if Wall-E is of the same visual quality as A Bug's Life, it's not the same movie.
I think also they need, like I said, I think they needed the roots, the footing that Toy Story, Bug's Life, and The Incredibles had given them. I think if they had gone out of the front door, the first movie with Wall-E, I don't think people would have reacted as well, just because it is so unique and so different. I mean, Wall-E's an amazing movie, but I genuinely do not think people would have gone to see it in the first place if Pixar had not, cemented its name before then.
Ratatouille, which is a great film.
Ratatouille is my favorite Pixar film.
It comes out now, it goes straight to Disney Plus.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't make the money that it makes in theaters. There are a lot of movies that are of great quality, superior emotional heft, not a single bit of merchandise capability, but it comes out between like a Toy Story and a Finding Dory, and so people go to see it because it's the new Pixar thing. It's like going to see the new Marvel, like I don't know nothing about this Doctor Strange fella, but I'm going to go see whatever the new Marvel is, the new Star Wars.
Well, either way, getting to the point, I feel that Lightyear is definitely Disney taking the reins. I do not feel that this is a pure Pixar film. This was Disney saying, we want to eke some more money out of Toy Story, or we want to... Yeah, I'm with you, Andrew. I actually thought at first it was when we first heard about this. This was announced on Disney Plus Day, like 2 years ago. I think that was the big... Yeah, that was the big one that, Mark, you had me watch for the network.
Yep.
And yeah, when they announced it, and there's like, yeah, we got a new Lightyear project coming up with Chris Evans in the voice. I'm like, okay, probably going straight to Disney Plus.
Right.
But it's abundantly clear that this is not a film that Pixar itself really wanted to push.
I want to, last question, then we're going to transition into the craft review of Lightyear. I've been saying to people have been asking my opinion of it, and I'm like, well, I'm going to do a review Tuesday. They're like, I don't want to watch a stupid show. Just tell me what you thought of the movie. All right. So
that really speaks volumes. It's like, I don't want to watch your show. Your show sucks.
No, my show is awesome. People don't have 2 hours to spend listening to film critique. It's my supposition, at least. In any case, I think to kind of just get to the point, I will usually tell people, Lightyear feels like a DreamWorks movie. Like, if you didn't know that this was like, this feels DreamWorks quality. And like, DreamWorks made some fun pictures, but they were always very slight, very mocking of modern culture. They lacked in a lot of them. I mean, outside of the occasional, How to Train Your Dragon or something like that, they lacked an emotional heft. But they were definitely made for the most general of general audiences. So DreamWorks had a lot of good swings at bat, and definitely hit some triples and the occasional home run. They're not even as good as Lightyear's not even as good as the most average Illumination movie, which right now, I think if I had to pick between the big three, which is now the superior animation studio, it's Illumination. I'll give you a second to respond to that, Robert.
I can't quite go with you all the way to that last statement where you think Illumination might have overtaken. I think they've overtaken. Hang on.
Life of Pets, Minions, Gru, Despicable Me. Come on.
Hold on, and let me make my point.
Sure.
This is a little bit about a metric thing that you're using versus my take on this. So let me lay out my criteria for this.
Okay.
I think if you're talking about which animation studio right now delivers the stuff that has the most merchandising opportunities, tends to be the most financially successful, I think you're right. I think it probably is Illumination. Everyone's got a freaking Minion, and they're making more of them. And God bless them, they're awesome. I enjoy the Despicable Me movies. I enjoyed the Minions movie.
Hang on, I don't from the peanut gallery at the party having at my house, and our live studio audience says there are currently Minion pancakes at IHOP.
Where is everyone else?
They're coming. Relax. Continue.
So, in that respect, yes, I would agree with you about Illumination. I think the reason it probably still lags behind Disney and Pixar overall is a film quality issue, as well as a little bit of name value recognition. Like, you say Pixar, people know what you mean. If you say Illumination, you're gonna get a half-cocked eye, and then you have to go, yeah, you're Minions. Like, oh yeah,
the Minion Studio, right? I know those movies.
Yeah,
there is some truth to that. Pixar does have more of an iconography to its names. Again,
20-year history. When was the first Illumination movie?
Honestly, I hate to say it. I think part of God help me. I think that also partially the fact that Pixar and DreamWorks, which I think are both on that tier of recognition, have a recognizable mascot to their name: the lamp and the boy in the moon. Right. Illumination, the logo glows.
Well, now. Ever since Despicable Me, and then possibly even the first Minions movie, now whenever you see the Illumination Studio, it's always Minions. That they have adopted the Minions as their logo, as part of their logo.
Hang on. Projects, you wanted to know when they came out.
Yeah.
Despicable Me was their first film, so 2010. So they've got 12 years.
Right, as opposed to the 20 that Pixar has.
I'm not saying this is part of the thing. I'm not saying they won't ever get there. I'm not saying this can never happen. I am saying if you want to know why I think they're probably still lagging behind in that particular discussion, this is part of it. They are still, for want of a better expression, the newest kids on the block.
I can't do a 1-to-1 comparison of the most recent Pixar to like the most recent Illumination because I haven't seen them all. Like I haven't seen Sing 2, but I don't know. You talk to people, and it's like, what did you think of Luca? Nah. What did you think of Turning Red? I didn't watch it. I don't watch no period movies. What did you think of Sing 2? Oh, I saw it. I loved it. And that might be the American Idol effect. Also, people just like to watch singing. So
Some people like to watch singing.
What now? What are you rambling about?
I said some people like to watch singing. I didn't watch the Sing movies.
Have you not seen the ratings for American Idol or the 50 other shows that copied it?
Yeah, there's people who like karaoke. Good for them. I haven't seen the Sing movies either, believe it or not.
Sorry, Mrs. Winfree. You're not everybody. The vast majority of people enjoy this shit. That's why they make so much of it. All right. If nothing else, unless someone has a burning desire to continue this conversation, let's get into Lightyear. So you're both right. You both kind of touched on it. Lightyear was, from what I remember, without having to read through the development history, I thought I saw something to the effect of the people at Pixar sitting around going, the story behind, and this is, and I'm bringing this up because this really does play into what's wrong with this movie. Because even my wife, who is not a film critic by any stretch of the imagination, pointed this out. This is supposed to be the film that Andy saw that inspired him to fall in love with the Buzz Lightyear character and want the toy. And I want to come back to that when we're done here, because I don't see how they made that connection. So when they were talking about the development
that's just a sad, desperate attempt to try and tie this into the franchise. They're trying to get you to have an emotional reaction to it, and they're also, I think more importantly, and I will give them a bit of a pass on it because of the following thing, you need to establish what this is in the canon of Toy Story, right?
I remember reading,
and that's an important thing to have done here.
I remember reading the executives of Pixar saying, hey, the movie that inspired the Buzz Lightyear character, that inspired Andy to want the Buzz Lightyear toy, we should just make that movie. And then they went about deciding what that movie was going to be. Yes, my love.
If I was to get any toy from that movie, I want the cat.
We're going to get there. Go back and sit down. Thank you. So speaking of...
I'm sorry. We all know there's going to be a million socks underneath Christmas trees this year.
I'll just go ahead. Well, he's referring to a conversation that took place after the movie, which I wasn't going to talk about this now, but whatever, studio audience. We all kind of walked away from the movie going, no one would want a Buzz Lightyear toy coming out of that movie. Everyone would want the socks toy.
Agreed.
Not wrong.
I mean, I don't think there's anything.
I'll come back to that later.
I'm not going to lie. I actually didn't know we were going to get that line at the beginning of the movie that said, in 1995, movie came out and Andy saw that movie or whatever. I thought I did hear that we were going to get 3 post-credit scenes. I thought one of them was going to be the toys watching the movie or something. And we were going to go super meta with Buzz watching the toy with Jesse and Bullseye and all of them going, wow, can you believe that's what I'm from? Kind of like Woody's reaction in Toy Story 2 to seeing the Woody's Roundup show.
All right, so
yeah, but they already did that at the beginning of the cartoon that was Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, where Patrick Warburton voiced Buzz Lightyear.
Admittedly, never saw it.
All right, a framing device explains that in 1995, a young Andy Davis saw Lightyear, the film that inspired the Buzz Lightyear toy line. Buzz Lightyear, a space ranger in Star Command, and his commanding officer and best friend, Alicia Hawthorne, explore the habitable planet Takani Prime with their new recruit, Featheringhamston, who
they just call him the Rookie,
who also fights in the UFC and was formerly the lightweight champion. Hi, Robert.
Not accurate.
They are forced to retreat to their exploration vessel after discovering that the planet hosts hostile life forms. Buzz damages the vessel during the retreat, forcing the crew to evacuate in order to conduct repairs and continue their journey. 1 year later, the crew have constructed a nascent colony along with the necessary infrastructure to conduct repairs. Buzz volunteers to test hyperspace fuel, a key component of repairs. However, after a 4-minute test, he finds the 4 years have passed on Takani Prime due to the effects of time dilation from having traveled at relativistic speeds. Buzz is introduced to Sox, a robotic feline, and continues testing the hyperspace fuel. With every test, 4 more years pass on Takani Prime until eventually over 62 years have passed. During this time, the colony develops. Alicia raises a son with her wife, Kiko, subsequently dying of old age, and Sox improves the fuel's composition, allowing it to obtain faster than light speeds. Against the order of his new commanding officer, Commander Burnside, Buzz uses his new fuel composition for a successful hyperspace test. Upon landing, Buzz discovers 22 years have passed, during which Takani Prime has been invaded by Cyclops robots led by the mysterious Emperor Zurg. Buzz meets up with the members of the colony's defense forces, including Izzy Hawthorne, Alicia's now adult granddaughter, Mo Morrison, a fresh, naive recruit, and Darby Steele, an elderly paroled convict. While initially reluctant to work with them, Buzz eventually warms to them. Together, they plan to attack Zurg's ship and destroy the invading force. Following an encounter, Zurg abducts Buzz, bringing him aboard his ship, where he reveals that he is an older Buzz from an alternate timeline, because of course he is, in which he escaped the Burnside's forces. I know.
Yeah. I don't think anyone in this chat liked this twist.
Nope. Aided by the effects of time dilation,
The dumbest thing they could have done.
Yeah. Also the most hackneyed. Like, I'm really done with this sort of thing. Aided by the effects of time dilation, he traveled to the far future, encountering a technologically advanced and abandoned vessel. He assumed Zurg's identity by wearing his signature mecha suit, and traveled to the now post-present to obtain more hyperspace fuel from Buzz in order to travel further back in time and prevent the exploration vessel from landing on Takani Prime in the first place. However, Buzz refuses due to the implications of the possible temporal paradox that would result from such actions, which would wipe out the current timeline and everyone from it. Meanwhile, Izzy, Mo, Darby, and Sox board Zurg's ship to assist Buzz. After a chaotic assault on the ship, Buzz and his comrades in arms destroy the ship and escape. However, Zurg, having survived the ship's destruction, arrives and attacks Buzz, grabbing the hyperspace fuel. As Zurg prepares to destroy him, Buzz shoots the fuel, causing it to explode and incapacitate Zurg. With the fuel gone, Buzz wishes to stay on Takani Prime. Upon landing, Burnside arrests Buzz, but relents, allowing Buzz to revive the Space Ranger Corps. Buzz selects Izzy, Mo, Darby, and Sox to form the core of this organization, much to Burnside's surprise. Buzz and his team are then sent off to a new adventure in parts unknown, where the Ultimate Warrior resides. In a post-credit scene, Zurg is revealed to have survived the explosion, because of course he has. All right, let me real quick. I want to talk about this, Alexis, and kind of get your response to it. When thinking about Steven Spielberg and George Lucas and the whole idea of like what were their inspirations, what were the inspirations for Star Wars, where there's a parallel between what they saw as kids, what influenced the projects they made that made them famous, and what Toy Story is then aping, mimicking, drawing as a reference. We're talking about the sci-fi serials of yore, the Black and Whites, the Flash Gordons, the Buck Rogers, that era. And so when thinking about what would the Buzz Lightyear movie be, it would be Flash Gordon or Buck Rogers or something along those lines.
It would not be this.
It would not be Lost in Space.
Never.
Which is what this was.
No. This movie starts out so good. I love that some of Buzz's early dialogue is taken from the first Toy Story movie. The terrain seems a bit unstable. No readout yet if the air is breathable. And there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere. I was giggling like a little kid in my seat when he read that line.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Evans, holy crap. I'm scared how much he sounds like a young Tim Allen. He was perfect. He sounded exactly how you would want Buzz Lightyear to sound. Animation. Of course, I know it's Pixar, so it's like, well, of course it's good animation. It's Pixar. They wouldn't turn out crap. But I'm still going to give credit that the animation in this movie looks incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It was so beautiful to look at. And the setup, the idea that he is going to continuously basically jump forward in time to try to make this work. I thought, it's like, this is so creative. I like it. And then we get to the part with Izzy and Robert. You're going to love me for saying this, the completely unnecessary addition of Taika Waititi.
That character is so useless.
They both are, him and the convict. Okay. I have, the whole time I'm watching this, I'm sitting there going, so why are they here? This movie would have been so much better if it was just Izzy, Buzz, and Sox. Those
Right.
characters. The only time that either Darby or Mo did something that made me laugh is the bit where the robots have those like teleportation disc kind of things, and you have that bit where they're trying to get hold on to, and they keep dropping, and it just sort of turns into like a portal thing, jumping out, going back and forth. And Mo's like, "Oh, look at that!" That legit made me laugh. That was kind of funny, but I think that was just more from seeing too many videos of people playing Portal doing stupid shit like that. So that part made me laugh. But the rest of the time, it's just like, why were these characters added? They add nothing. And the twist. Okay, so I saw this on a matinee today. I went into the 1:00 showing. Not a full house, but decent amount. Mostly parents with little kids. It's summer. They're taking their kids to the matinees. A lot of little kids, a lot of them not shutting up. Apparently, matinees are where parents say, go ahead and talk through the movies, and no one else here is actually here to watch it. I could hear these kids asking all these questions when older Buzz shows up, when Thanos' dad is the villain. Seriously, though, it's cool that James Brolin's still getting work. But it's like they gave no indication that this happened, that Buzz split into two timelines when he did the hyper jump. This comes completely out of nowhere, and frankly, it ruins the mysticism of Zurg. We hear about him in the first movie. We see the toy version of him in Toy Story 2, and they always build him up very similar to Darth Vader, this evil galactic empire, this threat to Star Command, just baddest of the bad. And it's like, it's an old dude in a suit trying to right a mistake he made, and he's not necessarily coming off as evil. Just you can have someone trying to rectify their mistake and still come across as evil. Look at the bad guy in Up. He was awesome. He's a great villain. This was very poorly handled, ruined any content. Again, I just saw the first Toy Story the other day. I watched through tons of classic Pixar movies while getting ready for the episode of Trip to Trivia that we unfortunately had to cancel. And you hear the kids saying, it's like, take that, Zurg! His lasers light up. And I was just like, this movie is not going to make these kids want to do this.
Yeah, that's where I kept coming back to. Robert, I want to throw this at you. I want to throw this in the bed and see if it'll sleep with Madonna. We were talking about what? We were talking about how you watch Star Wars, just as an example. And again, Star Wars is this amalgamation of all these things that Spielberg and Lucas watched as kids and wanted to do their own spin on. But you walk out of Star Wars in 1977, and everyone wants to be Han Solo. All the boys want to be Han Solo. The occasional wants to be Luke Skywalker because they want to hit somebody over the head with a broomstick. But most of us, if you were a cool kid, you wanted to be Han Solo. Why did you want to be Han Solo? Because Han Solo is cooler than Jesus, cooler than the other side of the pillow. He's got swagger. He looks cool. He has a cool outfit. He's got cool hair. He shoots people dead before they can shoot him. He's a pirate. He's a pilot. He does all the cool hero shit. And he does it with a, sort of a flip attitude, right? Everybody wants to be Han Solo. And I'm watching this movie and I'm thinking to myself, like, why would Andy want to be Buzz Lightyear? What about Buzz Lightyear? What are his characteristics that a young boy at home would be like, I want to be that guy? And perseverance maybe, but how many kids are like tapping into man's perseverance to right or wrong? What else is there about Buzz? The first time you meet him, he's doing the narration and he immediately gets, and I know we've talked this to death, but here we go again. He immediately gets cut at the knees by his cooler, hipper, more now woke partner. Why are you narrating? Like, it's supposed to be a funny line, but right from the very start, and throughout the movie, we once again come across a main character who the writers themselves don't want you to cheer. The writers themselves want you to identify with the misfits that he'll partner up with at the second half of the movie. They don't really want you to cheer on Buzz. And so again, I go back to, but if your central conceit of this movie is this is who Andy wants to be, and so he buys the toys so that he could have the play, I'm not getting that from this movie, Robert. Not in any way, shape, or form. And yet here we go again with another for whatever the reasons are, another example of Hollywood wanting to kill its own baby. And I don't, I know why. We've talked it to death, but I just don't know why we have to keep going through this over and over and over again, and then wonder why this shit doesn't make any money.
All right, let's do a couple of things here. One, if you were making this movie in 1995, it would in no way, shape, form, or fashion resemble the film that we have.
Nope, not even a little.
Nothing about this movie says anything about the time period it allegedly came out in. Nothing. That's a problem. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, you know, coming out of this movie, no one would want the Buzz Lightyear action figure. Buzz isn't cool.
Right.
He's just not. Sorry. Like he's not as undercut as I was afraid he was going to be. Let me start there.
No, it's not Dr. Strange.
I was really Yeah, he's not a passenger in his own movie. He does have agency and he does perform actions, some of them heroic, but he's not cool. And that's a real problem. The twist with what Zurg is and his whole stupid plan.
You sound pained even talking about it.
Okay.
I wish we had your
What's
camera
my rule
on,
about-
man. I just want to see how much pain
Oh,
you're in.
I'm a tumor. I'm a tumor. I'm a tumor.
My head is down in my face is down in my hands. My head would be pointed at the camera. You could visibly watch my bald spot increase.
What about right? Have I got it? Is this how you like it?
Yep.
Is this what you want me to do?
Pretty-
More of this? You like it?
That's where I
Yes?
am. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Let me know when you finish.
You just had to make it weird.
I'm sorry, how long have you been on the show?
I still hold out this really stupid hope that one of these days Mark will just let an innuendo lie and not have to push it beyond the point where it becomes stupid.
Hi, I'm Mark. Have we met?
I understand you have to make them, Mark. I do. I'm not hoping for you to not make them. I'm hoping that one of these days you'll just kind of leave it as an innuendo rather than going 2 steps too far. But what's my...
I'm sorry, do you not recall the scene of, look, he's over there, he's beating that dead horse?
Go on, Robert. Please move this on as we are rapidly running out of time.
What's my rule? I have one rule about time travel. I have one. I have only one. This is all I ask of your movie if you're going to do time travel. Literally it. All I ask. You remember what it is, Mark?
No, but I remember what it is, but I want you to tell the audience.
I don't remember what it was.
Shut up, Alexis.
All I ask for is internal consistency. Literally
Yes,
all I
that's the one.
ask
Very
for.
thing.
We didn't hear a word you said. Not you.
internal
Well, I didn't hear what Mark
consistency.
said.
I said that's the one, the very thing. Go.
So if you can't give me that, don't do time travel. If his plan is, I'm going to go back and make it so this never happened, you've already altered the past and you're still here. You didn't actually change anything. Your entire goal makes no sense within the context of the world you are living in. You are not going to rewind in time. You did not evaporate into the ether when the timeline reset and Chris Evans instead of Josh Brolin became Buzz.
James.
Didn't happen. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, it's not Thanos. It's Thanos' dad.
Yeah. Which just makes it so much better, actually. But you didn't change. You didn't go away. You didn't fix anything. Everything that happened to you still happened and is presumably still happening. You didn't change anything. Going back in time would not actually alter the trajectory of what's going on. It wouldn't change anything. All you have is your own perception of it. And if you're there to stop it from happening, you're in that time. You're still an old man. You didn't change anything. It boggles my mind when you decide I'm going to have a time travel plot. If you choose to do this, writers, anyone out there, listen to me. I will save you from yourselves. Write out whatever your rules are. I don't care what they are. Figure out what they are. Chisel them into stone. and do not change them once you decide on them. It can be as goofy as Back to the Future. Back to the Future is consistent within the rules it sets for itself.
Hell, even
It makes no
Endgame is
sense.
consistent.
Yes, Endgame, consistent within its own rules of time travel, though introducing time travel to the entire MCU was a terrible decision. Different topic. That's a whole other thing. Whole other thing. But if you choose to go down this road, decide on your rules, write them in stone, and understand how it affects your story. Do not try to play loosey-goosey with this. People will tune out. You lost the young males at the Lightyear movie.
Young males were going to see Top Gun for the third time.
No shit, I
No.
have seen Gun 3 times.
No. The teenage males were going. They're like this was like the the elementary school kids should have been watching this.
No,
should have
those
been
kids were
thinking-
seeing Jurassic World Dominion for the third time.
And getting brain cancer because of it. I'm sure that's stupid movie.
That's going on
But,
the poster. Jurassic
this is
World
still the
will give you brain cancer.
This is still the point, though. Like, this is supposed to be what inspires a generation of children to this end, and you couldn't get them into the theater.
All right,
They're
real
tuning
quick.
out before they even step in, and once they do step in, you lose them halfway through because of your stupid, theoretically too smart for its own good writing. Stop this.
Real
So-
quick.
Stop
No, wait,
this.
hang on, because we got to keep aware of time here, and I do want to say this before anything continues. I don't think this is and I don't think this is a bad movie. I think my problems with it. I mean, you feel free to disagree, and I'll give you your chance to respond to this. I want to say the following: and I said this earlier, if you are just looking for standard general audience fare without the emotional heft, you're just looking for a fun action adventure DreamWorks level animated motion picture, Lightyear is fun. It is almost the very definition of fine. Stuff happens, there's action, there's brightly colored characters. I'm not in love with the scenery so much. I feel like it's all kind of one location, and that location isn't particularly colorful to look at, but it is what it is. It's one of those where when it was 2 hours, I think this was
Hour and a half,
less.
something like that.
yeah, an hour and 105 minutes. It was like I watched it, it was over, and then instead of it staying with me like the usual Pixar fare does, immediately went out of my brain. That's what's wrong with this movie. By any other studio, if this what was the Peanuts one, Blue something or other, Blue Sky. Had it been Blue Sky, DreamWorks, and any of these other
Blue Sky's gone.
Yes, Alexis. I'm saying in the history, the grand scale and history of animation studios that were all bought by Disney. Had it been any one of those, nobody makes this complaint. It's like, yeah, it was cool. Because like Robert, you and I, like we over the years, we did like the Angry Birds movie. We did we did the Hotel Transylvanias and stuff like that. We haven't talked any of the Ice Age. I did that one with my son. But we did Madagascar. There were so many of these animated movies that we've talked about over the years between Long Road to Ruin and Damn You Hollywood, and we kind of walked away from a lot of them going, they were entertaining. They were exactly what they should be for the audience they were intended for. Lightyear was entertaining, and it was absolutely good enough for the audience it was intended for.
You sure about that?
Who was the audience it was intended for? That was it. I mean, younger kids aren't going to get a lot of it. And if this was made for fans of Toy Story, basically our age group, because we were kids when the first Toy Story came out, we were close to Andy's age.
I'm talking about basically like kids, like an audience my kids' age and their parents that are not deeply embedded in the culture and history of animation. The general family audience, I think most come away with this, with the same feeling that I did. It's a slight movie, but I was at least entertained. But that's not what you go to a Pixar movie for, and that I think is its deepest failing, Robert.
Here's the other problem with the scenario you laid out.
Mm.
We're going to talk the money in a minute.
In just a minute.
So was this really the right movie for the audience?
I think that's a fair question. I don't know how well that speaks. When talking strictly about the craft, I mean, I think this was a well-made, competent picture. It might have just, in hindsight, missed the target. But I think it's a well-intentioned picture.
If all we're talking about is strict X's and O's of filmmaking, there's problems with this movie. The middle is kind of dead.
Yeah.
The entire cadre, we mentioned this, there's at least 2 to 3 too many characters here that serve no purpose other than bad comic relief. They are unnecessary, should not be there. The twist with who Zurg is a terrible, terrible writing decision. Just the worst.
Tell me I'm not the only one. I thought that the twist, because I had heard there was a twist, so I figured Zurg was going to be someone we knew. I thought it was going to be the rookie.
Yeah.
I mean, how cool would that? I thought that was who. It was like, well, I mean, at first I thought, oh, it's Burnside, but then they show the clip of Burnside retreat. I'm like, okay, so it's not Burnside. So who's there? And then I'm like, oh, what if it's the rookie? What? And then all of a sudden, and then you see the older Buzz. I'm like, huh?
Hey, wrap up, guys, because we have 2 more segments in 30 minutes.
Yeah. So I think there's a big question about whether or not this was, in fact, the right movie for the audience. There's a lot in this movie that is acceptable. There's some really gorgeous animation, as has been touched on. Pixar is still the gold standard with this, bar none. The bit when he is repeatedly trying these hyperspeed flights and we just see the world age around him in fairly rapid succession, I actually found that somewhat affecting. That's well executed filmmaking. That's probably the best thing this movie does, is show him kind of slowly realize how much he's losing touch with the world around him in that respect. But there's a lot of really bad comedy that serves no purpose. There's characters who don't serve a purpose. You neuter who's supposed to be your title character entirely too much. Your twist and conclusion is not great. I don't like the conclusion to this. No, we're not going to go home. We'll start our own space command with blackjack and hookers. How is this a victory?
That would have been a much better movie.
Not saying it wouldn't. I'm just saying. There's a lot of problems with the writing here, but some of the dialogue and interaction is okay. There's some great callbacks. I feel like a full third of the lines that Buzz says in this are cribbed from either the 3 Toy Story movies or somewhere in Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. They liberally sprinkle his dialogue with these things.
Yeah, I mentioned that. I thought that was that part had me really excited. I love how much they did that. Even including
visual
the lines
callbacks. I mean, when
me, aren't you?
Well, there's a visual callback to Toy Story 2, actually, when he front flips over Zurg and lands behind him, because that's what they're doing in the opening of Toy Story 2 when they're playing the Buzz Lightyear game. That's how he tries to shoot. That's how Rex tries to shoot Zurg and fails and gets just lambasted just blown out of the water by Zurg, because that's not how you're supposed to fight the boss in that game. There's a lot of that. That's some fun callbacks and helps kind of tie together the notion that this might have been the thing that inspired a lot of the merchandise and the associated products that came after it. But there's too many problems of the story. There's too many problems of execution. I don't know how a theoretically highly advanced spacefaring civilization like this would not be aware of time dilation before the first time they launched Buzz around the sun, which would affect time anyway, because the sun is so dense with gravity, and gravity affects time. Really didn't make any. Just was baffling to me that they were not aware of that beforehand. Just really made them look like idiots. But like I said, there's some interaction. The animation is really good. There's some good action set pieces here, believe it or not. I actually wish they'd leaned more heavily into that.
Mm-hmm.
But this is ultimately unbelievably forgettable. And the stuff you do remember is probably the stuff that's not good.
All right. Speaking of not good, let's talk about the money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
All righty. On a budget of $200 million, that's Marvel money right there, friends. Marvel money. This film has made a paltry $91.7 million. Not a good start, Robert.
Nope.
And in further humiliating news for this poor beleaguered studio, was the number 2 movie of its opening weekend. What do you think, Robert? Do I do it? Do I do it? You want me to do it? Should I do it? Want me to do it?
You're gonna do it anyway. Just go.
All right, here we go. I'm doing it. I did it. Yeah, this thing is not doing well. It's kind of bombing. This is a lot of egg on the face of Pixar, and it's probably got Disney studio executives contemplating a jump out the window. The number 1 movie of the weekend from June 17th to June 19th was Jurassic World Dominion, holding its place from the previous weekend with only a 59.2% drop, Robert. What do you think?
Democracy is the theory that the people should get what they want. You should just give it to them good and hard. If you idiots out there
want good and hard.
If you idiots out there think that Jurassic World Dominion is something you wish to see more of in some way, you're not going to like where this goes. You're not going to like where this story ends. I'm just telling you. You're not going to like it, but you have only yourselves to blame.
The number 1 domestic movie of the year so far, Top Gun Maverick, fell from 2 to 3. Doctor Strange, I believe tomorrow, is going to be on Disney Plus. If it's not today, I can't remember which day it was. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Missed Opportunities fell from 3 to 4. Bob's Burgers, which even my dad said sucked, maintained its spot after 4 weeks in the number 5. Bad Guys fell from 4 to 6. Everything Everywhere All at Once, which Robert and I spent an hour last night just giving a proper hand job to, came in at number 7. Downton Abbey.
Mark's penchant for exaggeration rears its ugly head yet again, but yes, we both loved the movie and gave it every one of the flowers it deserves.
Anybody know what streaming service that's going to go to? Because I do want to see it.
It's currently PVOD. It's an A24 film, so it'll show up. It could show up anywhere in any number of places. A24 doesn't have a particular streaming partner. It kind of goes where it's whoever buys it. But right now, it's
at the
available
moment, if you want it, you have to buy it from Amazon. You can't even rent it. You have to straight up buy it.
Yeah. Oh, I hate that. I mean, I want to see it. I do. Just, I'd like to rent it.
Downton Abbey fell from 6 to 8. Sonic maintaining its spot in the number 9 spot. Brian and Charles debuted at number 10. Firestarter currently also gained date on Peacock, which is not a real service. Right, Robert? Right, Robert? Did I do it right? Did I say the thing?
You did say the thing, and I appreciate that you're coming around to reality about Peacock. Doesn't have a okay. Here's my rule about this now. If you don't have a search function that is at least usable, you're not a real streaming service.
Fair enough. The Lost City, which I just watched recently, fell from 11 to 12, but I think is now available on Paramount Plus. Crimes of the Future, 12 to 13. Uncharted, 13 to 14. Watcher, 14 to 15. Phantom of the Opera, 22 to 16. Apparently, it's in a bunch more theaters.
Which version of that is that?
I was going to say, what is the...
It says Sony Pictures Classic, so make of that what you will. I'm not looking it up. The Roundup, 15 to 17.
You can just click the thing that's right there. Like, click that version of the movie. It should give you which one it is.
I don't want to click anything.
It's the Phantom of the Open.
Oh. Moving on. Reading is fundamental.
Okay, I'm sorry. Apparently, we have all gone illiterate.
Speaking of illiterate, Abandoned debuted at number 18. The Witch Part 2, the other one, debuted at 19, and falling from 19 to 20, Deep in the Heart, a Texas wildlife story, 19 to 20. And then other debuts that were Official Competition at 22, Nakama at 27, Bitterbrush at 36, A Man of Integrity at 43. All right, the worldwide stats as we know them to be: Doctor Strange, just inching, creeping, walking, talking.
Not gonna get there.
Towards $1 billion, maybe.
Sorry. They just announced they're re-releasing Spider-Man No Way Home into theaters again, aka they're trying desperately to recoup Morbius money. People are going to go see that before they go see Doctor Strange again.
At $940 million.
Unless they find a way to cut Doctor Strange to be suitable to China, we're done. And it's
Top
not
Gun
like
Maverick-
a $900+ million take is bad.
Top Gun Maverick at $901 million worldwide has Paramount executives doing cocaine and bathing in champagne.
They are willing to give all of their money and all of their drugs to Tom Cruise for the next year.
Yeah.
They don't have to. The Church of Scientology supplies them with all the drugs he could ever want.
The Batman petering out at $770 million and falling to number 3 for the year. Jurassic World Dominion rising up the ranks at $634 million at number 4. Watergate Bridge, $626 at number 5. Uncharted, hanging in there, baby, at $401 million. Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Boredom at $401 million at number 7. Sonic the Hedgehog at $399 million. The Bad Guy somewhat behind it.
Hey, people, because Sonic is still in theaters in some places. Please get that above Fantastic Beasts. I beg of you. If there's anything I ever ask of you, the movie-going public, please, I need Sonic the Hedgehog 2 as a much better movie to beat Fantastic Beasts in the box office. Like, I don't ask for quality to trump your enjoyment all the time, but for the love of God, this one time, please, can we fix this?
Quick question: Watergate Bridge, is that a Chinese film?
That is the sequel to the Lake Qingjong from last year. So yeah, that's their like big.
Oh,
property.
yeah, the movie that we said the Chinese government was apparently forcing people out of their house at gunpoint to buy a ticket.
All right.
You will see this more than once.
True Kill to Kill rounds out our top 10 at $217 million, and Morbius currently at number 13 at $163 million. Wah 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 wah.
Hey, Morbius. Your worldwide total is not even the gross domestic product of Guatemala. Suck it.
I still love the fact that they're trying to fool Sony executives into releasing it for a third time.
All right,
I support this troll job. I really do, wholeheartedly.
I stand by what I wrote in the chat. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I apparently work at Sony.
So yeah, Lightyear is I mean, it'll probably just barely get over 200 million, and if it does, they should thank their lucky stars. This weekend, there's nothing really that's necessarily directly competitive with it, but
can't wait to see the Black Phone this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to see it this weekend too. We're going to be reviewing that and Elvis this weekend. Next Tuesday. But I'm curious, Robert, what do you think in 10 words or less? Black Phone or Elvis makes the number 1 movie of the weekend?
May I?
You're gonna make me say it, aren't you? And I hate.
Yeah, I was
you
gonna
for
say
making me say it.
Robert, you and I are both thinking the same thing.
Jurassic World is gonna.
You think Jurassic World repeats? Are you kidding me?
I do too.
You really want to tell me that Elvis or the Black Phone is going to unseat either of those?
If I
Either of those is going to unseat it.
I don't think it'll be the Black Phone. Don't get me wrong. I don't think the Black Phone makes the number 1 movie. I think it debuts at either 2 or 3.
Horror movies of that caliber never. Well, they're too niche market. It's not a family film. It can't.
No, and I get that. I'm not making an argument with the Black Phone, but I think Elvis has a shot at number 1. I wouldn't be completely surprised by that.
It has a shot. I'm with you, Mark. It has a shot, but if you force me to put my money on the table, I'm with Robert. I would give the 3-peat to Jurassic World.
My only reticence to agree with you is I didn't feel like Jurassic World got a lot of buzz or any kind of like audience and wide audience enjoyment. I mean, when we talked about it last week, Robert, that whole show was a disaster. But I don't recall us talking about like there being a lot of wide enjoyment or repeat value in watching it. It was like everyone came out to see the big dinosaur movie and they saw it and they went meh, and that was the end of it.
Holy crap!
Yeah, but you're
2
talking
hours
about
and 39 minutes. Yikes!
Yep.
Damn, Baz.
The actor playing Elvis Presley will be gaining weight in real time.
I am also interested to see this because I'm sorry if I can. I'm interested to see this because this actor who played Elvis, he's also been cast in the next Dune movie. He's going to play. I don't know the character's name because I can't pronounce half the crap in Frank Herbert's world, but he's the character that Sting played in the 1980s film.
Go ahead, Robert, real quick.
Ooh. I was half convinced they were just going to merge that character with Batista's because they really needed to introduce him. That's Harkonnen's other son.
Hey,
Yeah,
a
Austin
whole
Butler's
second
gonna
to
play
do
him.
here. Let's go.
I think Top Gun Maverick has a better shot at unseating Jurassic World Dominion than Elvis does.
All right. Well, after that, then there's a bye week. No, sorry, I keep saying that. Minions, July 1st will be the #1 movie in America, if not the world. Easily. Which is then followed by Thor: Love and Thunder, which will be the #1 movie.
Okay, which all the other studios just say thank you and good night.
It'll probably repeat in the second week, even though Nope is the wide release, but it's a horror movie. It is what it is. I think people will go see it, but it'll debut at #2, and that'll be the end of July. So there's almost nothing to talk about here as far as the money goes with Lightyear. This was almost an unmitigated disaster for Pixar. Anything else about the money, Robert, real quick, before we move on?
Not especially. I'm curious to see how Nope does. I
Mhm.
think a lot of people were off-put by Us, as
Mhm.
they well should have been. It's not a very well-constructed film.
I liked it.
Wonderful. It's great for the first 2/3, but your entire finale falls apart under anything approximating scrutiny.
Yeah. All right. Here we go with our
That's kind
final
of a problem.
Like the
critical
twist at the end.
review of the evening.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
All right. Our final critical review
Oh,
of the
Last
evening.
thing, but just before we get into this, the last thing about the money.
Yeah.
Disney, I hope you learn at some point that courting controversy is a bad idea.
I was kind of wondering why no one brought that up.
They didn't want to spend another hour on.
Okay,
You know,
look. Let me do 5 words. Let me do like 50 words on this. We don't need to go in depth about it because it's a stupid controversy.
go ahead.
You had one of your characters for the first half of the movie be gay, and you had her have a family, and guess what? No one would have cared. No one would have cared. Absolutely. I mean, look, the Chinese censors would have cared. You have to deal with that. Fine, whatever. No one would have cared one single iota about this, except you decided to get on your soapbox and go, look at what we have here. Look at how inclusive we are. Look at what we're going to do. And you pissed off a giant chunk of your potential audience in doing so. I guarantee you, if you had not made a deal out of this and just released the movie, would there have been a small percentage of nut jobs who were pissed? Sure, probably. But you would have had their money, and everyone would have said, it's a nothing scene in this movie. Grow up. But you wanted controversy, you wanted the Twitter kudos, and you lost a lot of money because of it. You should learn. I don't object to that character being gay, for the record. No problem with that whatsoever. But when you decide you're going to make a big deal out of this, don't be shocked when this bites you in the ass over and over and over again.
Slight contention with that, because if I remember correctly, they didn't actually get on their soapbox until the attacks first started, to which they got up on the soapbox and said, we're proud to have included this scene. We're not editing it out.
After they edited it out.
I'm just saying, if I'm wrong and Robert's right, then I retract my statement, but that is the way I remember it.
Okay, my understanding of what happened was Pixar puts a gay kiss in the kids movie. Disney was like, "The fuck you are," and they take it out. And then between the Florida don't say gay thing and some other stuff that happened, the Pixar people and the LGBTQI community jump up and said, "The hell you aren't." And Pixar and Disney folded and put it back in again and said, "Look at us! Look at how inclusive we are." After we get scolded, and it's like, my only thing with this is I don't care what side Disney takes. Just take a side and stick with it. Like, stick to your guns, whichever side you're like. If you want to be inclusive to the point of cutting your nose off to spite your face in international markets, I'm with you. I really am. Be brave. Be brave and lose $1 in the Middle East and in China.
Hey,
or
maybe don't Photoshop major characters out of your posters for international releases. Just throwing it out there, you hypocrites.
Or chase every dollar you possibly can, but then, you know what, stick to your guns and tell the people at Pixar, nope, no gay people. Sorry, we'd like people in China to see this movie and we'd like to make money. I don't care which one you're doing. I honestly don't. It's your studio. Pick one. Just pick one and stick with it. Don't be all wishy-washy. Don't be Charlie Brown. All right. 76% on the tomato meter, 85% audience score. Lightyear settles for being a rather conventional origin story. Duh. Instead of reaching for the stars. But this gorgeously animated adventure ably accomplishes its mission for straightforward fun.
I don't know.
Not really.
All right.
Not too much fun to be had here, actually.
All right. Alexis Hejna's spiritual
Not none, but not as much as you think.
Alexis Hejna's spiritual sister, Amy Nicholson, of Film Week of KPCC NPR Los Angeles top critic. A fairly emotional story about aging and mortality.
Oh, get bent.
Not really. Not even
fairly
slightly.
emotional. When the only way you can wring a bit of emotion out of an audience is aping a much better movie that genuinely kind of broke my heart when I was watching it, you don't get even to say fairly emotional. No, absolutely not. Terrible.
All right. Matt Conway of Battle Royale with Cheese. The end product is handsomely crafted, yet hollow mission to infinity and beyond.
Kind of forcing the catchphrase, but technically not wrong.
Yeah, I'm docking points for the terribly forced catchphrase, but the meat of the criticism there is correct.
Charles Kaplinski of Real Talk with Chuck and Pam. The story loses a bit of steam as it progresses, standard action fare taking center stage.
Again, not technically wrong. I did mention that the first half of the movie is actually pretty enjoyable, but yeah, after the 20-year jump or something at the halfway point, all of a sudden everything just peters out. So,
definitely.
Again,
and
technically not wrong.
Yeah, mostly correct.
I found him. I found my friend. Hi, Kevin Carr, a fat guy at the movies. We've missed you. Oh, we missed you. Correct. A guy that I actively bully. Kevin Carr.
You don't even have hang on. No. Stop for just a second. You don't even actively bully him. You point me at him and say, Robert, go.
Sick him, Winfree. You're my little guardian. Kevin Carr says to Robert Winfree of 401mania.com from Fat Guy at the Movies, it doesn't have the impact of Pixar's best, but it's a fantastic space adventure with a lot of heart and sweetness woven into the story. You, sir, are impressed by aging bricks. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
Your standards are impossibly low, sir. This isn't even... You know what? No. This isn't even a good space adventure. They spent so much time not in space. I can't even give you that. I would give you sci-fi. I will not give you space adventure. Absolutely not.
Agreed.
Go ahead, Alexis.
No, I just said agreed. It's the only time they're in space. They're basically in low orbit over the planet.
All right, this is the last one I'm going to read because it's a doozy. All right.
Wait a second.
Yes, sir.
Can I just do one thing?
Only one thing?
Okay, if Kevin Carr watches these podcasts, which I assume he does,
I would assume not.
I feel like he would know that he's such an idiot that a child was able to be a better critic than him.
Okay, I don't know if you heard that. My son said, I'm a child and I'm a better critic than Kevin Carr, a fat guy at the movies. I love you, Jonas.
No. That's not true. And we all know it because Jonas liked Morbius.
Ooh, ouch.
Yes.
I'm still a child.
You can't have that both ways.
But yes, I can point out
I want to end this on time. Please get to a point sometime this year.
I can point out dumb things in movies, but I can't point out personality fails and
Okay.
I love how your son's disappearing into the green screen, so it looks like you're talking to a ghost.
That's okay. I was completely looking off camera before. All right, I need to. Okay. Last one, then we're done here. Robert Winfree of the Screaming Boy podcast, Richard Lawson of Vanity Fair, of Top Critic, Red Star, best of the best. He gets paid for this. He says, Lightyear is nearly the Pixar nadir that is Cars 2, just with a spiffier paint job.
Bull.
Yeah, no.
Sorry. We're all in
This is
agreement
not-
Lightyear is not. Yeah, it's like, do not insult this movie by dragging it down with Cars 2. That
This
was
is not-
pain.
This is not nearly as shallow, vapid, unrefined, self-obsessed, and no, this is not that. This is not good. I would argue this is not a good movie, but it is not Cars 2. That is not accurate.
All right. Well, folks, that wraps up our reviews of Lightyear and Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. We're going to be doing a lot more of these double up reviews and trying to make the best use of our 2-hour time slot as we can. Trying to get more of these movies seen and reviewed, but I don't have as much time to do them as I used to. So that's why we're doubling up on like the Black Phone and Elvis, not splitting them over weeks. That's why Chip 'n Dale wasn't a part of a different review and was lumped in here with Lightyear. So this might be the structure going forward for a lot of these, where we have more than one picture we got to get to. So, or we're just not going to be doing as many pictures. So, hope you enjoyed the format change this evening. With that said, go ahead, Alexis Hejna of Honeysuckle Rose Creations, with your plugs that pay your bills. See, I said it for you this time. I don't pay you, Alexis. Your jewelry pays you. That's what pays the bills. Only the jewelry, not me. I don't pay nobody. I said it before you this time. That's accurate.
Make it better.
Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. Shops are fully stocked on Etsy and handmade at Amazon. We just finished an appearance at Smallville Comic-Con in Smallville, Kansas, aka Hutchinson, Kansas. Very fun little convention. Had a blast getting ready for a double whammy in Texas. We're going to be working the Greater Austin Comic-Con and Comic Palooza in Houston. I'm spending 2 weeks in Texas in the middle of a rapidly rising hot summer. I'm going to suffer, I know it, but I'm looking forward to the conventions. We're adding a couple of new things to our shop here before we head out there. Fans of Stranger Things, be on the lookout. We got some new merch coming out. As always, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That, again, is Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic.
If you enjoyed Alexis this evening, and why wouldn't you? She's pretty awesome. She knows her stuff. She'll be back with us July 21st for the Ms. Marvel review. It'll be Thursday night at 10, unless I have something better to do, in which case I'm going to move it. And then she'll be. We've had to reschedule this twice now. We are eventually going to get to it. Upload season 2, August 23rd, and then in a rare afternoon review, because I can do that because she does not have a day job. As such, we will be reviewing Only Moitas in the Building season 2 this October. So. Stay tuned for more Alexis Hejna of the Screaming Boy podcast.
Should also add, we have 2 more shows coming out with Jesse that we will be recording this week. We're going to be taking a look at the final episodes of season 1 of Hell of a Boss. And we are going to be discussing the Ninja Turtles comic book series, The Last Ronin. This is something Jesse and I have been wanting to talk about for ages. We had to hold off until the final book was released. So looking forward to it.
Issue number 1 was published in 1977. That's how long this thing took to get out. Robert, you have a minute to do your plugs. Go.
You can find me covering mixed martial arts, action, and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com. I cover AW's Dark Elevation on Monday, MLW stuff on Thursday, WWE SmackDown on Friday, and whatever the UFC is doing on Saturday. Last week, I also reviewed TNA Impact Slammiversary, celebrating 20 years of, they're not TNA Impact, there's Impact Wrestling, but celebrating 20 years of that company, which has gone through more ownership changes than MGM Studio, make a more appropriate reference, but they're still chugging along and they're still turning out content. So God bless them. I covered that. My reports for any and all of those can be found over in those zones. This last Saturday is UFC on ESPN UFC on ESPN 37. Violent night of fights. If you want my full report, MMA Zone at 411mania.com, including clips of the finishes. There were many. They were great. There was a standing spinning back elbow that put someone out on his feet. Lovely stuff. This week, again, that same bout of coverage. If you want a full preview of the upcoming UFC event, that would be UFC on ESPN 39. Not as good a card on paper, but hey, who knows? Hopefully it'll be good in practice. I host the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. I record Sunday evening, so Monday, first thing in the morning, if you're interested in mixed martial arts, I can be your companion on your drive to work as I talk about the fights, what happened, what is going to happen, give my thoughts on the technique, matchmaking, news of the week, etc., all that good stuff. It is your weekly look into the wide, wacky, wonderful world of mixed martial arts. Any and all of the support that you can throw towards those projects, I appreciate, as we all appreciate all the support you're able to give. Damn you, Hollywood here. We thank you so very, very much.
All right, folks, please like and subscribe on YouTube. For those of you who hung out with us tonight in the chat room and put your thoughts in there that we shared on the board, we appreciate you. Hey, for those in the live studio audience, let me hear you. That's right. Thank you. Okay, I didn't say make dinosaur sounds. You're not a pterodactyl. Please like and subscribe on. Go away. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. For those of you who actually listen to traditional podcasts in their audio form, as God intended, we are on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you can find audio podcasts. We are there. Please like and subscribe, and hey, give us a rating. That helps us out too. For Robert Winfree, for Alexis Hejna, for the pterodactyl, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and behave.